fresheners.
Oh yeah, they've been used. We have our mascot up over there though, right above the eye wash sign.
The fly?
That's a dragonfly. Ah yeah, that's our mascot over there.
Let's see if the actual.
That's a big
He's on the
dragonfly.
side.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you pull that out of somebody?
Huh?
Did you pull it out of someone?
No, we didn't have we didn't have the Silence of the Lambs guy here. And of course, the flies, unfortunately, decomposed bodies tend to attract flies, maggots, whatever.
Yeah.
We've had maggots. We've had people die in cars that haven't been seen for 2, 3, 4 weeks in the heat of the summer, and they just are liquefied and maggots and flies and everything. That's awful.
So you've seen that before?
Oh yeah, and what we'll do is we'll put without taking the person out of the car, we'll put the car on a flatbed, bring the flatbed here, and then we'll do all the stuff here that we have to do.
That also helps determine how long the body's been sitting.
That's correct. Maggots are good. The life cycle of a maggot. The entomologist, you know what an entomologist is?
The study of bugs.
Study of bugs, right? That can be very important because time of death is not an exact science, but it is helpful during the investigation because what you want to do is you want to fit everything in a nice window, because if something doesn't look right, we may have a problem such as lividity and rigor mortis. All that has to fit in to the time frame because that helps with the time of death. You can't say, a doctor's not going to say, yeah, that person died at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The only way you're going to know that is if you had an eyewitness who saw him collapse. And even then you got to be skeptical because they may be lying or deceptive.
So like the first thing you would check then would be the liver? Liver test?
No, we don't. We would use an axillary under the armpit.
Okay.
And there's a formula for that. I think it's 2 degrees the first hour, and then 1 degree for the next 2 or 3 hours, and then so much after that to a certain point. I don't remember the formula offhand. We would do that in certain cases, especially if you're dealing with hypo or hyperthermia type cases. But again, surrounding circumstances, was it a gas, heat, propane, whatever? How hot was it out? Did you have air conditioning, fans, whatever? All this has to be documented. We do, as I said, I do a PowerPoint presentation that I'll show to aspiring detectives, giving them characteristics of death and how to go about it and what's the meaning of this and what's the meaning of that. And a lot of it is documentation of the scene. Photograph the undisturbed scene and document it. Because you never know when something is going to be important a week down the road or something like that. Be careful that board, it does move. I saw you leaning going like I saw the board going.
Are you taking pictures? Are you taking pictures?
Rigor mortis and livor mortis. Rigor mortis. As soon as you die, your heart stops pumping, correct? Well, what is the heart pumping?
Blood.
What happens to liquid when it's not moving?
It sets.
Settles, right. It settles to what? The lowest portion?
Up your body.
Where
you laying at?
Flow. Well, that's the same thing within your body. And what happens, the unique thing about your body is now that settling blood within 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, it starts breaking through the capillaries, and we call it staining the skin. That's lividity. And colors of lividity can even help you out. Different colors. Pink lividity could be anemic or a hypothermia type case. Cold. The person died out in the cold. Cherry red. What do you think cherry red may show?
Hot.
No. Carbon monoxide. Trying to think of other colors. Brown could be a poison. So sometimes the color of the lividity, we don't obviously rely on that. We wait for toxicology and everything, but it could be an indicator. Plus, when you're looking at a body, and I see lividity on the top, but the person's laying on the bottom, what does that indicate? They were moved. Same thing with rigor mortis. Rigor mortis, anybody know what rigor mortis is?
Isn't it your joints locking up?
Well, it's a misnomer, but it's something similar to that. It's a hardening of your muscles due to a chemical change, a chemical reaction. Usually it's involving lactic acid. It's a stiffening of your muscles. And literally, you become stiff as a board. And we show pictures of that where I have done pictures here where I put the person's head and neck on the stool, I put their feet on the stool, and they're straight out with no support underneath them. you're literally stiff as a board. That's how hard you get. Now, if you got a body laying there, and rigor mortis will set in your final resting position. But if I go to a scene and I got a person's arm that's up in the air like this, that's telling me that person's been moved. That's not the natural position of an arm like this up in the air. That arm should be down on the ground. I'm kind of trying to give easier example, or an easy example, but the investigators have to pick that up. Rigor mortis and lividity have to be consistent with the final resting position of the body. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the person still wasn't moved, because lividity starts around 2 hours, rigor mortis starts between 2 to 4 hours, and it starts in the smaller muscles of your face, and it goes to the larger muscles. And then it gets fully set around 12 to 16 hours. Normal. There's always variables with the weather, animal characteristics, things like that. In addition, were the pre-death activity, was the person working out, were they involved in a fight? Was it a debilitated person, things like that. So you got to take the totality of the circumstances to this death investigation.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
In 2001, I had a couple friends that had passed away in a car accident on 73. All 4 of them were killed in the crash instantly, and one was a Camden cop. His brother said when he went to identify the body, his face was still like this because the way he saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said it was, you know what I mean? Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, because how those sound is, when we go to move the body out or transport the body, that's going to have some bearing on that too. I doubt if that person was like this. That could have been just from resting in the final position in the body bag at the morgue.
Oh.
Not necessarily that's how they died.
Oh, okay.
Other questions?
Can I look at those instruments real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to see.
Well, you can go to my house and use it and cut some trees.
I know, that's right. I was trying to tell y'all that's what we use.
Yeah, this is, right, this is what I was using to take the blood and urine out when the female officer went down and go boom.
Because you didn't clean it.
These are the needles that we use to sew up with the thread to sew the body back up.
I would imagine stick thread.
Usually we have some, I think it's usually we have them hanging over there. The thread is right here.
There you
That's
go.
the same string we use.
Anything you can find here, you can find in a hardware store.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
That is crazy,
What
yeah.
we do, every person that comes into our facility, we fingerprint their right thumb, and we take a DNA sample, a blood sample, and we keep that on file.